welcome back to our channel. I'm Sarah.
Hey, I'm Kevin.
And we are an American family of 6 with 4 kids.
And a cat.
Who moved from the USA to Germany in February of 2021. And on our channel, we share what it's been like for us and our personal experience of moving abroad with 4 kids.
And a cat.
That poor cat. She's having to learn to speak German, and she's hunting mice. Lots more mice here than our old place.
She's already exterminated all the legless lizards in our yard. I haven't seen any for a couple months.
What are they called in German again? I
don't know. I haven't seen it in German.
Y'all told me on Instagram, and now I've forgotten.
Well, welcome everybody back to our bedroom. We haven't filmed here for a while because we've been out and about traveling and stuff. So a lot of our videos lately have been of us doing things. But it's nice to get to sit down here and talk with you guys again.
Yeah, you guys seem to really like these videos where it's the two of us talking and sort of like a deep dive into German culture. So we wanted to offer that again for you. And also we get a lot of comments about will you travel farther north? Will you get out of Bavaria? And we want to let you know that we actually haven't been traveling at all. Even though we have all these travel videos, we have not spent a single night in a hotel room since we moved here. No. Everything you see on our channel,
less than an
hour
drive away,
has been 45 minutes. Yeah, 20 to 45 minutes away, maybe an hour. Yeah, 50 minutes.
There's 2 places we went that were 50 minutes
away.
There
were 50 minutes, yeah. And so we've only done day trips with our kids thus far. And I don't know, it wasn't really a conscious decision for me, at least, was it for you? I don't know, Well, it's
you get the low-hanging fruit. All these things are close, you might as well do them first.
And to us, our area is 100% new to us. We didn't know anything when we moved here. So even just our local area felt like a playground. Like, we've got so many cool castles and things to see just within 45 minutes of our house. Which I hope this is a reminder to you from wherever you're living in the entire world. I think sometimes we think that things further away are very exotic when there's always beauty right around you to be seen that you didn't even know was there. So I've really enjoyed getting to see our local area. Now that being said, I love the ocean. I am really excited to get to see the North Sea and to get up to the north of Germany. So definitely at some point we'll be getting up there.
Spoiler alert, we already have booked something for summer vacation to go up farther north.
We are taking our kids to Berg Eltz in August. I know that's not the north of Germany, but it's...
north from here.
It's 6 hours away from here, so yeah. It's another 4 hours to the North Sea from there, I think. 4 or 5 hours, so... Anyway, we're getting farther north, but it will be our first trip in a hotel. What are we talking about today?
Playgrounds.
Playgrounds. Playgrounds were one of the first things we noticed after our 5 days of quarantine.
Well,
remember?
The playground was the very first thing we ever did.
In Germany.
We left our house after being in quarantine and went directly to a playground.
Which is just down the street from our house. Yeah. It's an awesome playground with this huge field. Yeah, so after our first 5 days here, we spent in quarantine in February, and then we had to leave the house to go to the next town over to get a COVID test, and we played on the playground. So we noticed then, wow, this is kind of different than what we're used to in America. We noticed right away it was different. And so today we want to talk to you about how the playgrounds are different here and why we love them. So to start off, we want to say in the US, it wasn't like our kids didn't like the playgrounds there. We would go to a playground and they would play on it and they loved it. And they're colorful and bright. And we're not really saying there's anything wrong with American playgrounds. Okay, that's not really the point of this video. It's to talk about how different and how the mindset and kind of concept behind German playgrounds are different. And there's actually a number of books and articles written on the subject. It is a thing, German playgrounds being different.
So the first thing we noticed is that parents are really involved with their kids on the playground, and that's both the mothers and the fathers. I would take our kids to the playground quite a lot in America, and I was always the only dad there most of the time.
Yeah.
It was really weird. I mean, I feel like,
it's rare to see dads.
You don't see dads. I mean, even on the weekends and stuff, you don't see dads taking kids to the playground. And here, there's dads, there's moms, and they're out there running around, climbing on the stuff, playing with their kids. You know, a lot of times in America, the parents are sitting down, watching, maybe looking on their phones.
That's all American parents do. They're just doing this.
I mean, at least that's been our experience.
And I was guilty of that, so I'm not judging. I did it too.
And so here, the parents are just really involved. They're sitting in the sandbox with their kids, and especially, like I said, there's a lot of dads. So I don't feel weird taking my kids to the playground here. It's just normal.
I mean, how sad is it for a dad to feel weird taking his kids to the playground?
Yeah.
That should not be normal. That's not okay.
Right.
It should be normal for dads to be involved in their children's lives. They are their dads.
Right.
But anyway, so speaking of parents being on the playgrounds, many of the playgrounds here, at least in our area, have a little alm or a little snack stand. And they're like a mini alm.
Yeah.
And they serve some of you even serve, I think, food that's been cooked. They're like currywurst and Apfelstrudel and Apfelkuchen.
Mm-hmm.
And that's apple cake. And so the parents they're not on their phones, they're talking to each other, or they're watching their kids and playing with their kids. And then they can walk over to a little snack stand, grab a beer. So you can't just drink a beer on a playground in America. Mm-mm. In fact, you would be like, there would be some shock if someone saw a parent drinking a beer on the playground. That would not be okay.
No, it wouldn't go over well.
But here it's so normal. Like, you're sitting there drinking your beer while your kids play in the playground. I mean, mom and dad can have their good time, and so can the kids. So thumbs up.
And then another thing we've noticed is, I don't know what to call it, playground tourism. I don't know, but we end up, we'll go and talk to other parents, and they won't be from the town. They'll be from the next town over, and they'll come, and so they'll just go to different playgrounds, take their kids to different playgrounds, because there's always different equipment and different playgrounds in different places. And so, they'll take a little bike ride. If it's nice weather, they'll take their kids and go for a little bike ride from, for 15, 20 minutes to the next town over and go to the playground. We've met several really cool families that, at the playground, we're expecting them to be, locals, but they're from the next towns over. It's kind of neat.
And the fourth thing we've noticed is that the playground equipment here is really unique for us. It is a lot different than what we're used to in America. We have noticed that it really encourages the children to use their critical thinking skills, work with other children to make the equipment work or move, and just use their critical thinking skills to be able to play on the equipment. And you can see them thinking as they're trying to figure out how to play with it.
Yeah.
And we really like that.
Yeah, there's so many different types of things. There's these pulleys and buckets, and so you can fill up with sand and pull it up the bucket and then put it in little chutes and go down. And usually you need two kids, one down on the bottom to fill it up, the other pull it up, and so they have to work together. Or they have these balance beams, but they're not just regular balance beams. They're connected together in segments by little rubber connectors, and they're mounted on springs, and so they bounce and wiggle around, and so
very hard to stay on.
My kids will get on it and they'll play like King of the Hill on these things, and they'll bounce and jiggle and try and knock the other kids off. And so it's not just to try and walk across it, but then they interact, and how can they bounce the other kids around? Just really neat. And there's this. I've only seen this at one place, but it's hard to describe. It's like this hard rubber sheet, thin sheet, and it's suspended in the middle over a little cylinder that can rotate. And so this thing sort of goes back and forth, and some kids are on one side and some kids are on the other, and if you bounce on them in just the right way, it's almost like a little trampoline
and seesaw.
Yeah, it's like a trampoline seesaw all together. It's just ingenious, and it takes you a while to figure out, how do I do stuff on this? It's just really creative.
And then there's the spinning wheel of death, as some of you called it in the comments. But it's like this wheel, this disc. It's not a wheel. It's a disc that's at an angle, and the kids run on it like this.
And it spins around like a hamster wheel.
Yeah. And they have to all work together with other children and figure out like, okay, how are we going to let this kid on? Oh, how do we stop it? Okay, now where do you sit and how do we spin it around together? And it's really cool to just sit. Maybe this is why German parents watch their kids, because it's actually interesting. You can like watch them thinking. You can watch them trying to figure things out. And you're like, wow, this is a classroom outside on a playground. And the kids have no idea they're learning. They're just having fun. So we really like that.
And then my favorite one I've seen in a couple different places. It's this big giant contraption, and there's these different poles hanging down in different spots, and there's a little place for a kid to hold on this pole, and they're connected in the middle. But very loosely connected. But if you bounce on one right, you can get the other person. If you bounce it, and can make the other person go up, and try. It's just there's so many different ways you can make it move, and when you interact with the other people playing, it's just really neat.
Yeah, and I'm sure too, you Germans, you may be hearing us talk and be like, duh, I've seen this stuff my whole life. This is so boring. Like that's nothing interesting to me. But like for an American, or maybe from people coming from even other countries, this is very unique to us. We've never seen playgrounds like this, and they're just so creatively done. And we also like how they're also so natural. Most of the playgrounds in our area look the same for you, up in Hanover and Hamburg and Dusseldorf and Berlin and all over the country.
They're all similar.
Yeah, they're similar, and they look like they're made from materials that you find outside. They're logs. It's less plastic and metal, though there's still, I've seen 2 playgrounds that do have some metal and plastic, which is fine. But for the most part, they look very natural. They look like they're just part of the woods.
Well, Ella called one of the parks in our own town, Ella calls it the wood park.
Yeah.
Because it's got all these little tree house things built in the trees, and it's all wooden. So that's the wood park. So I know what she means when she says the wood park.
So another big thing here in Germany, which we want to do a whole separate video on, is self-reliance and teaching independence at a very young age here in Germany. And we have definitely experienced this culture now living here, but we'll do a whole video on that, maybe the next video. We have seen this with the playgrounds here in Germany. Now, it's all within reason. The parents aren't crazy here and just let their 1.5-year-old go running on a piece of equipment that's built for a 10-year-old. They don't do that. They use their common sense, right? So I have seen, for the most part, kids ages like 3 and under, the parent is still with them and is still holding their hand, helping them on the playground. But after the age of 3 or 4, you're pretty much on your own, and the kids just can have full range of the playground. They can do whatever they want. No parent is telling them to stop doing anything unless it's being mean to another kid. That's pretty much the only time I've ever seen a child be chastised on the playground, including us. Be nice to your sister. But you can definitely see the self-reliance in action on the playgrounds. But I do like how the parents, they're still nurturing when it's necessary. If the child falls down, I had this impression from some of the articles I'd read that German parents don't comfort their children when they fall down, things like that. And it was like, what?
No.
Surely they don't take it that far. And they don't. No. On the playground, if a child falls down, you always see them, dads and moms, not just moms. You see the dads holding them and cuddling them. And they act like normal, loving parents when it is necessary. Yeah. But when they're bigger, you do see them sort of brush it off and like, you're okay. Get back up, you're doing fine, kind of attitude.
And then once the kids are, 8, 9 or so, then their parents aren't even there. They ride their bikes or walk or take their rollers, their scooters to the park themselves. And they totally self-sufficient.
Parents
they just
aren't
go by
even
themselves.
Yeah. We're like counting down no, we're not really. Ella's 4, so we got a little bit longer.
We got some time. We still need to help her.
Yeah. But eventually we won't even have to go. But I would say, like in America, at least where we lived, it wasn't safe for kids to go walking or riding their bikes anywhere outside of a neighborhood. Within your own neighborhood is safe, and there's many playgrounds within neighborhoods in the U.S. In our neighborhood, unfortunately, we did not have a playground. But like I said, many neighborhoods are built with a pool and a playground, at least in Georgia, in the South. I think that's kind of widespread throughout the U.S., maybe not the pool part. But so you can go to the local playground in your neighborhood, and it's safe maybe for a child of 9 or 10 to go by bike or walking to that. But outside of your neighborhood, forget about it. You
Well,
don't want your child out.
It's too far anyway.
It's
usually.
too far and way too dangerous because
Yeah.
you'd be riding on highways, you'd be riding on very busy streets, because roads there are not made for people to walk or ride their bikes. It's only made for cars. Except for maybe in very specific small areas.
Or in the cities, maybe it's a little different.
Yeah, right. Like in a city or a town that's built for pedestrians. But those are very rare,
Yeah.
So in one of our previous videos where we talked about how our kids are experiencing Germany and what they're like, and we had talked about how they love the playgrounds, and many of you mentioned the Achtung, is that how you pronounce it?
Achtung.
Achtung, the Achtung baby book. And you mentioned a few articles where I could go read about the German playgrounds and how they are riskier here, that they don't worry too much about it being super safe like they do in America.
Well, Americans go overboard. It's such a litigious society, so you have to be really careful.
Unfortunately because of that. I think they would be less worried if there weren't so many lawsuits going around, so that's sad. And we did enjoy the video on raising self-reliant children by the lady who wrote Achtung Baby. She's an American woman who moved to Berlin. I was just in awe of how German parents just sort of let their kids go and, are using a fork and a knife at a very young age and learning how to light candles at 3 years old and in kindergarten and all that stuff. So, like I said, we will get more into that in another video. But that is part of the playground. Equipment being riskier, higher, bigger, more exciting, more fun, really.
Yeah.
So also in that video, many of you left us some really great comments about how the playgrounds are in your area and sort of self-reliance and German culture as it relates to children. So we wanted to highlight a few of your comments and read some of them. We really do appreciate and love your comments. So.
So the first one is, also, other people in the village will have an eye on your kids when you aren't around, and if a stranger would talk to them, you bet someone walks up and giving them hell. We don't mess around with some strangers talking to kids.
Yeah, and I definitely can feel that in Germany. To an American, you might feel like you're getting bossed around when you first come here. Like, why are those people telling me how to parent my children, or why are they telling my kid what to do? But once you understand it from the perspective that they have a community mindset and everybody's watching out for everybody. And so, when people are telling my kids to get away from the sidewalk or whatever, that they're just being a community member and being kind and trying to help my child not get hurt and watching out for each other.
Yeah.
And I really like that. So here Blue Dragon 2 says, in summer you'll probably forget you even have kids. You'll never see them. Smiley face.
Because they'll be off at the playground.
That's right. Or the Schwimmbad, yeah. Swimming. Which this has been a rather chilly summer, so we haven't been swimming too much.
About the playgrounds. In our town, most of the playgrounds were rebuilt over the last years, and everyone is different. They build around a special theme, for example, pirates, castles, dwarves, ships, dragons, and so on. It's really nice. One is packed with slides and at different heights, and a tower which is 18 meters high.
Whoa!
18-meter high tower, that's pretty high.
Yes, Ella? Yes, you can go out and run in the rain if you want to. There you go. Achtung baby. No. Apocalypse says, I think most playgrounds I have experienced were mostly made of wood and metal, like you mentioned, usually very mechanical and inviting. I grew up in the Bavarian National Forest at the border to the Czech Republic, where we had a Wald Spielplätze, a forest playground with different stages and areas. I love this part. And if I walked long enough, I reached the wild enclosures with wolves, bears, and lynx.
Whoa, cool. I want to go to a playground that has animals like that.
Yeah, let's take our kids there. That sounds awesome.
Here, Turbo78 says, I know some small cities or larger villages here in northern Germany where kids are involved in planning new playgrounds.
And I did find an article, which I'll link in the description box below. This article was about people who live in Berlin and the playgrounds there. And it does say that they involve the children in the planning of the playgrounds.
That's a whole new spin on customer discovery.
That is so awesome. Okay, so Lacuna 555 says, Here in northern Germany where I live, the playgrounds are the same as how you described them. I think many Germans love their kids to play in a natural environment. You could also check out German Waldkindergarten, forest kindergartens. It is a great opportunity for younger kids to learn about nature and play in a very healthy environment, and it is very popular here. And one of Ella's good friends.
Yeah, she goes to a Waldkindergarten.
Just down the street.
So cool. All day, every day, rain or shine or snow, you're outside.
Ella keeps yelling in the background. Ella is currently playing in the rain, so she's having a fun time. But yeah, the Waldkindergarten, they spend the entire day outside. Rain, snow, it doesn't matter. They're outside. If it's very, very cold, they do have a little hut they can go inside. And there is a fireplace in there, or a wooden stove, in the one right outside of our town. But I do know they like sing a lot of songs in a circle with guitars and play music, and they also just like get to explore and be in nature all day. I mean, it sounds like a kid's dream.
Yeah.
Absolutely a kid's dream.
And so Arno Dobler says, in my town, we have a water playground where they can learn how water power works. Cool, so I guess probably like...
Shh, you can't. Ella, we're recording a video, honey. We'll be done in about 5 minutes.
And you have to play the rain with me.
And then we have to play in the rain with you, okay. I would love... She gonna come up naked?
You can hold hands together.
I'm not going in the pool, Ella.
Can you kind of pull me?
It is too cold to go in the pool for me.
Mommy, but sometimes when it rains,
It feels
it's gonna
warmer.
be warm. It feels warm.
Ella, do you like German playgrounds? We're talking about the playgrounds here in Germany. Hi, Ella.
Hi.
What's your favorite thing on a German playground? Or here on the playgrounds? You're like, I don't know.
Me?
Do you like the seesaws?
I like the seesaw.
And you like those big round circles that you can swing in?
Do you like them?
And you like the zip lines?
Sandbox?
Sandbox?
Sandbox.
And zip lines. We didn't talk about the zip lines earlier.
No.
Zip lines are amazing. They have it at every playground. Practically everyone we've been to has.
So Sonia Korbacher, she says, when our son was little, we know every playground between North Sea and the Alps. Children only need playgrounds, nothing else. But we have a lot of children's museums in Germany. So yeah, we've heard a lot about the really
These
cool children's museums.
Yeah. We're excited to take you to a children's museum, Ella. Okay, Danny Sashin says most of the playgrounds in Germany would be forbidden in the US because of their strict safety rules for them, which sucks the fun out of them. Many parents and kids from America have mentioned this, how German playgrounds are just way more fun. Are you fun too, Ella? You're a fun little kitty.
I named Ella. Grace make fun.
Annie Mao says, I went to Chicago on an exchange when I was 16 in 2007, so it's not very up to date, but I remember seeing playgrounds there and thinking, kids don't even have a chance to get dirty here. Which may be a weird thought, but there was just this rubbery stuff covering the whole ground and no opportunity to cook mud soup or anything like that. I bet kids get to do that in their yards or something if they have one. Yeah, but the actual designated playgrounds look so safe and they were just kind of boring.
Yeah, some playgrounds are like that, but I wouldn't say all of them are. And Swan Pride says, yeah, I have seen American playgrounds. They are too safe. No joke, there are actually studies about this. A good playground should allow a child to test its own limits. And naturally, zip lines are the coolest things ever.
Jens Schröder says, Germany is an exporter of playground equipment. On the one hand, high safety requirements for the children, and on the other hand, the idea of using wood and other natural materials. But there's also lots of ideas and pedagogical concepts behind it.
Yeah, you can see that.
Definitely people are thinking.
Okay, so that's all we have for you today. Hope you enjoyed this video. And we
Cheers!
appreciate
Cheers.
Cheers! What else do we say, Ella?
Ciao, ciao.
Yeah, ciao ciao. Tschüss.
Ciao, ciao, tschüss.
I don't know anyone who says Auf Wiedersehen.
Wiederschauen.
Wiederschauen, they say in the grocery stores, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, now she's jumping on the bed, so we must go. Okay, bye everyone.
Bye. Time to go play in the rain.